citizen of Wisconsin. Kingdom citizen, yeah, yeah. Kingdom citizen.
Blessings, blessings, blessing everyone, blessings. It is good to be with you on tonight. It's Thursday night, and we are excited to be with you guys tonight. We have a good show for you tonight, and I have some candidates that are ready to make a difference, to make a change in the school system in the city of Milwaukee. We've been asking, is anybody going to stand up? Is anybody going to rise up and to fight for our children? And I believe that we have some great candidates coming up in this election to fight for our babies. But before they come, let me get everything out of the way. Let me get the commercials out the way, the things that I need to talk about real quick out of the way, and then we will bring in our guests. First of all, the book. Why is it important to stay in the middle from a kingdom perspective? The book is now in 15 states. You are more than welcome to order your book. We will ship it out to you. You can call 414-676-0842, 414-676-0842, and order your book. Why it's important to stay in the middle from a kingdom perspective. And we still are looking for volunteers to volunteer at the Brewers game. We'll be raising money for the school. We have a new school called Kingdom Ecclesia Academy that is being birthed out, and the goal is to have the school up and running September for the 2023-2024 school year. So if you would like to be a part, if you would like to donate, we're donating, we're volunteering for 81 Brewer games, and we would love for you to volunteer for the 81 Brewer games. We would love to have you work on the side of us to help better life for the children. And that's what we are all about, trying to better life for our children. So we want you guys to come out, and we want you guys to join in, volunteer, be a part of us as we move forward to make life better for our children. So Kingdom Ecclesia Academy, our goal is to have it open by 2023, September 2023. Dr. Duke Pestle is helping us. So we're excited for the school that's coming up. Any teachers involved? Yes. Teachers, students, we got people volunteering. If you're talking about the school, Scott, we can talk about that, me and you one-on-one, because yes, we do have some need for some teachers, but we do have excellent teacher, excellent curriculum that is going to be out here in our schools. And we bringing back home economics. We bringing back cursive writing. We're bringing back the basics, you guys. So it's going to be great. Hold on, give me a second. We have one of our candidates is having a problem getting on. So let me try another way to get her on the show with us. But we have a couple of them that's coming on, and I'm excited, you guys, that we have them coming on. And the reason I'm excited, because we do have people that are concerned about our children and want what's best for our children. So I am excited to have these amazing people and that is running and that is going to come on and talk to us tonight. Also, before we go any further, I'm just trying to make sure we all set. I'm excited, you guys. We got the school coming, and starting Monday, January 23rd, starting at Atkinson Library, and Atkinson Library is 1960 West Atkinson. The RE-Tour begins. Our E-Tour begin. And what are we talking about? We're talking about restoring families. We're talking about rebuilding our community. We're talking about reconnecting with our neighbors. We're talking about recommitting to changing the city of Milwaukee. And we're talking about reestablishing trust in our city. So we want you guys to come out January 23rd at 5:30 p.m. The first stop is Atkinson Library, 1960 West Atkinson. We want you guys to come out and join us. No one person has the answer, but we all collectively have the answer. And so we're excited to start the tour. And the tour begins this coming Monday, the 23rd. We will be at Atkinson Library, 1960 West Atkinson, at 5:30, and we'll be there from 5:30 to 7. Join us, because it's going to take all of us to make Milwaukee a better place. And so I am excited to bring these beautiful ladies on tonight that is concerned about MPS, and I am concerned about MPS. And so I am grateful and honored to have these lovely ladies who's running for District 1 and District 2 for the school board. And I'm going to bring them, Dr. Hendricks and Miss Holmes, on. So y'all, let's get them on. Blessings, ladies, blessings, and thank y'all for coming on.
Thank you.
How y'all doing tonight?
So far, so good. Dr. Hendricks, you're on mute.
Dr. Hendricks, you're mute.
Okay, there we go. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. And so what we're going to, somebody's already saying welcome, ladies. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow you ladies to introduce yourself, talk about you for a minute, and then we'll talk issues in a second, all right? And so what I'm going to do is, Ms. Holmes, I'm going to start with you. Since you was the last one to get in behind stage, we're going to punish you first.
Okay, I don't have no problem.
All right, so.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, rather. My name is Pamela Holmes. I am running for Milwaukee Public School Board, District Number 2. People are my passion and the youth are my purpose. As a retired law enforcement officer, I've had the unfortunate opportunity to witness many people at their worst during the calls for service. While listening to their versions of the stories, I could tell there was a need for education with an understanding of what the consequences would be awaiting them without a service referral for mediation. Well, today's youth lack vital resources like this to live, thrive, and survive. My platform is safety, mental health, growth, and achievement. Our students and teachers need to know that they can feel free, they can feel safe in a violence-free school environment. Our youth need guidance to make better choices through peer mediation, focusing on their mental health. The schools need to recognize the learning challenges through student and parent orientation to enhance the students' learning and understanding. It is then when you measure the outcomes of achievement or the need for remedial learning to have our students better prepared for the life that awaits them after graduation. Our youth need our help. And I will be there to assist the superintendent, along with the staff of MPS educators, to help them succeed. Vote for me, Pamela Holmes, on April 4th as a write-in candidate. And I'll tell you a little bit of the reason why I am a write-in candidate. So I submitted my paperwork and I collected 594 signatures. I was out there for a week right after the polar vortex when I was approached to get in the school board race. And I was like, there's no better time like the present, because as a retired law enforcement officer, I just seen the disconnect and the need for something to happen and some things to change. You could see this on the horizon. At least I did a long time ago. And so I entered the race. So I collected all the signatures. I was out there for a week straight collecting my signatures, and I turned them in. And when I first initially went and picked up the paperwork, and I asked Miss Craig, Deborah Craig, the receptionist at the desk of the Election Commission, where was the map that I was supposed to use? And she said, you don't use the automatic maps, you use the NPS maps. So she said, just go on the NPS website and get one of the maps. That's exactly what I did. And so me being a retired law enforcement officer, so I've worked in district number 3 and I worked in district number 7. So the area that was bounded by this was in District 2, a portion of it is in District 2, District 7 and 3. So I kind of knew the area. So looking at the 100 block that I was in, and I gauged the map by that. So upon doing all that, I collected these 594. And when I got the phone call on an email on Thursday, the day before you could appeal anything, was the 5th of January. And I got up that morning, I just was troubled all night to be told that I did not have sufficient signatures. So I looked over my paperwork and I went over everything, and I could see that I counted up 450. And so then when they had their disqualification of 1 through 5, it's like DQ1, DQ2, all the way to DQ5. And I was like, I said, well, what is this? I hadn't seen that before, so it was an email chain that they had sent, the reason why I was disqualified. So some people put their addresses in the cemetery. Just goes to show you how serious some people are about the education of our youth. And they put 76 in Keith, or they put 89, 45 was Silver Spring, which would be the Valhalla Cemetery. And so it was kind of disheartening to see that, but through it all, what I did was I got to the end of it, and I realized that they said I only had 385 signatures before I left the meeting on Friday night to submit my affidavit so that I can appeal their findings. Claire, the election commissioner, said that I had 389. So we went back and forth kind of with that on Saturday, when I said all you had to do was to go and look at the ones I was telling you was in my boundary areas. And she came back and she said that the boundary lines, the map had been updated, and the map, the lines were not moved, but they updated on their website. So I said, well, why would I follow the election commissioner's website when Deborah Craig told me to follow the NPS map? And that's what I did. So now there's like a conflict of interest, and they didn't give me any credit for knowing my area. They said it would belong to district number 2, district number 3, which would have been Saquonda Taylor's area at the time. So I'm kind of just baffled by that, because then now I find when I go to the meeting on Monday, thinking I was going to be on the agenda so that I could dispute the findings, and I found 22, which would have given me a total of 407. And they didn't even have me on the agenda to speak. So I couldn't say anything. So I sat there and I stayed, supported Dr. Hendricks, I supported Daryl, and being there, and I stayed to the end, and I spoke to the 3 commissioners, and basically they said, if you filed an affidavit, you should have been allowed to speak. Well, I wasn't. And so one of the election commissioners took my paperwork and said that he would go over it. And so I have yet to hear back from him what his findings are, but the disqualification came because somebody signed their initial J and then the last name, and they spelled it out. Well, they wanted the full entire name, but it said legible. And it didn't say, if the first name was Brittany and you can read it, but you couldn't read the last name, they still disqualified it, even though the address was a Milwaukee address. So my disqualification came from saying that I was not inside my area, but I used the NPS map. That would put me inside the area where I was supposed to be at. So that is my frustration right now. And so then I guess they thought that I was going to just give up, but I'm going to run as a write-in candidate. And I have Googled candidates across the United States who have won as a write-in. And I believe wholeheartedly that I can win. this race. And it's important for us to do something for those kids. Instead of just talking about school lunches, the school lunches have been horrible. What about the safety of all students? What about the mental health that we need to deal with? What about the growth and achievement that our students need to feel like they are part of something, like they're learning something that is going to prepare them for the life that awaits them after graduation? And that's all I have to say right now. I'll let Shandowlyn go ahead, and then if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. I have no problem answering anyone's question. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, David, thank you so much for this opportunity. And Pamela, thank you for coordinating this opportunity tonight. My name is Dr. Shandowlyn Hendricks Reeves, and I come to this space with almost 30 years of experience in education. I actually went into education because I was the parent of a child with severe multiple disabilities. I say was because I lost my son in September of last year. Nonetheless, when I went to my son's first IEP meeting, I was talked down to. And I left that meeting and I vowed no one would ever talk to me like that again, and immediately enrolled in school. I started off at NPS as a handicapped child assistant. And essentially in that capacity, all I did was feed and change the diapers of students who had severe disabilities like my son. I went back to school, earned my associate degree in human services from MATC, and then I became a paraprofessional. I then earned my bachelor's degree in human services from Springfield College and enrolled in an alternative certification program while I was a permit teacher. When I earned my master's degree from Cardinal Stretch University, I began serving as a special education teacher. Then I earned another master's degree at EDS in ed leadership, and I served as an assistant principal, a principal, and a central office administrator. I returned back to school, earned my doctorate degree, then I served as a district administrator superintendent. I've also taught at the college level at two different institutions of higher education, Alverno College and Vertebral University. After that, I went and I served at DPI as a director of teacher education, professional development, and licensing, where I was responsible for approving all of the teacher education programs in the state of Wisconsin, not just teachers, anyone who was getting a license, whether you were a teacher, social worker, psychologist, principal, director of student services, whatever. That was my team. After that, I served as director of the Wisconsin Education Opportunity Program, which was a program for first-time college students. That really touched my heart because I'm the granddaughter of a sharecropper. So neither of my parents went to college. My grandparents never learned to read and write, but my grandmother always told me that education was the key. And I believe that's really is the core of who I am and why I fight so much for students and their education. I served within education in public, private, and charter and higher education for almost 30 years. And then I worked for a for-profit international educational firm that had a multi-billion-dollar contract with NPS to provide reading and writing services to students who attended choice schools, as well as professional development to teachers who taught in choice schools. After that, I was the superintendent of urban day schools, where when I went there, only 30% of the students were reading on grade level. Within 3 years, 70% of our students were reading on grade level. The reason I share that is because right now, only 11% of our students at NPS are proficient in reading. And there is no reason why that should be. Any good leader is able to increase student achievement just the way that I had done. But what it takes is a plan. And I have a plan, a 20-point education policy called my Bill of Rights for Students. It is available on my website. I'll type my website into the chat. And in my Bill of Rights, it talks about exactly what children will receive from K3 through 12th grade. So for example, all children should have access to early childhood education, K3, K4. K5 needs to be an all-day program. Students not only need to learn how to read, write, do math, do science, and social studies, they need art, music, gym, Phi-Ed, civics, financial literacy. They need music. All of this is what makes a well-rounded individual. As our students get into high school, they need to have guidance counselors. There needs to be a school counselor in every school. There needs to be a psychologist in every school. There needs to be a social worker in every school. There needs to be a parent coordinator in every school. When our students are in high school, then they should be participating in internship or some sort of apprenticeship so that they can develop some pre-employment skills and kind of explore different career opportunities for themselves. And then some of our students ought to be enrolled in dual credit courses. In our suburban districts, it's not unheard of for high school students to spend half of their day uh, enrolled in college level courses. And while they're receiving credits for high school, they're also receiving college credits. So when they graduate from high school, they already have 6, 9, 12, 20 college credits for when they get ready to go to school. And so that's what my Bill of Rights talks about. I have 4 major priorities. These were the priorities that we focused on at Urban Day when we increased student achievement from 30% to 70%. One is a student belief and a student achievement based focus on teaching and learning. That should be where all of our focus is making sure that our teachers are able to teach and make sure that our students are learning. My second priority is a belief-based school culture, district climate. We have to change the culture in our schools. They have to be safe. Students have to know that the adults believe in them. Adults have to know that students want to learn. And they all need to know that the district is supporting them in the work that they're doing. My third priority is having a highly qualified, aligned staff to the vision of making sure that our students graduate proficient, transition ready, career ready, and or college ready. Because not all students want to go to college, but all students should be able to graduate from NPS and get a full-time job. That's my third priority. My fourth priority is really core to being a board member. That is that operations and systems, the decisions that we make must drive student achievement and it must drive district-wide culture. So when we're talking about whether or not we're putting money toward this initiative or that initiative, the basic question is, how is this going to increase student achievement? If it doesn't, we shouldn't be talking about it because right now our priority is increasing student achievement. I'll stop there so that we can engage in some conversation, but I thank you all for that. And please visit my website to see my Bill of Rights for students and learn more information about me.
All right, ladies, I'm loving this already. Wow, somebody, let's see. Oh, okay. So, let me put that on the screen. And if any one of y'all want to touch that, y'all may.
Certainly, I will touch on that because that is actually a statement that I made when I was running for Wisconsin State Superintendent. Listen, I am a parent. I'm a parent of not just my son who has severe multiple disabilities. I'm also the parent of a daughter who is now made me a grandma. I have one grandchild by her. And parents' choice is core to this. And when I say choice, I'm not talking about the choice program. When a mom and a dad has a baby, we put everything that we can toward that child. And when we're looking for our child to enroll in school, we want them to enroll in a high performance school. So I support a parent's right to enroll their child in a high performance school. And that means if it's a public school, private, charter, virtual, homeschool, or a combination of all, we have no right to engage in what I call parent blame, making parents feel bad because they choose the best school for their child.
Yes.
As an MPS board member, my job is to ensure that there's a high performance school in every zip code, a high performing Milwaukee public school in every zip code, so parents have a viable choice. For me to tell a parent, you must enroll your child in this school and only 10% of the kids are rated on grade level at that school is asinine because I wouldn't put my child or my grandchildren in that school. The thing is, I have a roadmap for increasing student achievement. I have a roadmap for developing schools to become high performance schools. And then parents will want to enroll their child in a high performance school that's an NPS school.
All right. Before Ms. Holmes answer that, you got some message on here. First one is from a lady by the name of Kimberly Ann, who's a good friend of mine. She said, "Hey, doctor." And then she said, "Yes, you were the best candidate for DPI." So just want you to know, you got some fans out there, you know, and so Ms. Holmes, did you want to touch that?
You know what? Dr. Hinch did a great job on that. And I can't compete with that. I mean, it's the parents' choice to choose where they want to send their child to school.
Okay.
And that's what I believe in.
You know, I always say it this way. I think that's you, Ms. Holmes. I don't know. Are you watching Ann talking?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Is there a background noise or something?
Yeah. What? Okay, now it's gone. So yeah, it's somewhere around you, but that's okay. We're gonna work around this thing.
Okay.
I tell people this. The problem that we have is, picture a town, a small town, and only thing that town has is a McDonald's. And if you want to take your kids out to eat, that's the only option you have. So the restaurant can be nasty, the service can be terrible, the food can be horrible, the bathroom can be horrible. But if you want to go out and eat, you just got to go there. But if you put a Burger King in that town, now you got to step up. You got to have a clean restaurant, some great customer service. The food got to be hot and on point just to keep the customers. And I think same way with education. We should have the best where people were fighting to get their kids in a school. Because why? Because they know that their children is going to get the best education. They know that those children is going to be taken care of. And I wouldn't even want to brag on, I wouldn't even want to be a part of something that's failing. If you got 10% of children out of, I believe the last time I checked, it was like almost 72,000 children. And you saying 10% of 72,000 can read and do math at their level? That's saying automatically we failing our children. So y'all can unmute and I got a question for you guys while we waiting on other people. I see they inviting other people on, but I want to ask you guys a question to you guys, and we know. Oh, okay. I ain't even gonna ask the question. I'm gonna put their question up for you guys. There we go. Or they comment and you can touch it.
So I'll address that. You know,
Okay.
this is always very discerning for me. I was explaining to Dr. King before we had come on the line. I serve on and have served on various boards. This would not be my first board experience. I currently serve on Social Development Foundations Board, and what we do is we raise money for the Social Development Commission. I serve on the board of Cardinal Stritch University. I also serve on the board of Metropolitan Milwaukee Alliance of Black School Educators, and I serve on the board of ALEGO. I have served on other boards. And as a board member, there is no one within that organization that cannot contact me as a board member. I find this just quite disturbing that board members, elected officials from Milwaukee Public Schools are not easily and readily available for our constituents. Yes, when I served at the Office of the Governor and I was the Milwaukee Director of the Office of the Governor, everyone in Milwaukee had access to me. My telephone number has been the same since I was a teacher. All you have to do is Google Shondolyn Reeves and my personal cell phone number comes up. So as it relates to this question, I am contactable. If we want to have public phone access, that's what we need to do. We are in a state of emergency with our children.
Yes.
There is a great sense of urgency right now. I need anybody and everybody who is willing to work with me and the new board that's going to be elected to come together, collaborate, do things differently, come up with a plan, and turn this around right now. So listen, 4 years ago, some of the people who sit in their positions were elected. Our babies were freshmen in high school. Now we're getting ready to graduate. Children who were freshmen when these people were elected, and they're not proficient. We don't have time to give another board member 4 more years to fail our children. I'm ready right now. And I didn't just start doing this because I'm running for office. I've been training parents how to advocate for their children through a training program, Family Leadership Institute, since I retired. I have people who call me on my cell phone because they have a friend who has a child with a disability and they need someone to help talk them off the edge or help them through a process. When you're a public servant, it doesn't start when you win an election or when you give a title. If it's your calling, you're a public servant no matter what your salary is, no matter what your job description is, and you're 100% available. And that's me. So yes, I will be available, not just for District 1. Of course, that's going to be my priority. That's where I live. That's where I have resided, and that's who I'll represent. But I'm open to anybody in the MPS family throughout the city of Milwaukee to help us make this right, because we are figuratively killing our children and dooming them to failure.
Yes. You know, Ms. Holmes, do you want to touch on that in any kind of way?
Oh, absolutely. So from personal experience, so my daughter attended Milwaukee School of Languages. Well, first she attended, and there was this young man that was, he kind of messed with the kids, bullying the kids or whatever, but they wound up going to high school together, the feeder school, Milwaukee School of Languages from French immersion. My daughter is fluent in French. She was there since she was 4 years old. So nevertheless, in the middle school, this kid kept on harassing her, bothering her, whatever. She was reporting it to the teacher, and then it had to wound up going to the principal. And so then now we are in the pandemic year. And my daughter is constantly, like right before they had shut the schools down for the kids, and she's constantly staying at home. Like she missed so much school, kept having stomach aches and headaches and asthma attacks. So I'm like, what is going on? In the interim, while we are in the pandemic, my daughter starts like withdrawing from everything. So she's walking around with a black hoodie on her head and not combing her hair and staying confined to her room. And then you can see the dark circles under her eyes. Now all of a sudden we are in the middle of the George Floyd. We're in the middle of the anything that had to do with officers involved shooting or anything that's on their social media platform that's negative, that's about bullying, that's about, the Me Too movement, all of those things. And she's internalizing all of these things. And she starts explaining to, not me, but to her sister, my oldest daughter, Erin. And she starts explaining to her what's going on. And I didn't know that she was being bullied, that the bullying was continuing on, and the vulgar things that this young man had said to my daughter, that she internalized, and now she started hating boys and started, loving girls, and she wanted to go to the doctor to go and talk. What are you talking about? And I take her to the doctor so that we can find out what's going on. And I'm thinking there's another asthmatic issue or something like that, and it's not. And so then she tells the doctor to dismiss me from the room. So as a parent, I'm kind of like, what's going on? Why are you dismissing me from the room? This is my child. So I leave the room so that they can talk. And then when I come back, the doctor's telling me that, she's trying to tell me that she wants to come out of the closet. And I said, come out of the closet for what? Your room is right down the hall. You don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. So what are you talking about? And so this is during the time these kids are learning these here, what you call the binary language, they, them, him, her, whatever. And she's using that, and I'm not understanding what she's talking about. I'm thinking it's just a fad. It's going to go away. And so then she tells me about what happened. So everything that occurred with her, I thought we had addressed, but obviously this kid did not stop. So I reached out to the school once they were going back into the school for that her last year in Milwaukee School of Languages before entering ninth grade, and I didn't get any resolve. So then I contacted the school board. I contacted and whoever the person was that answered the phone was just really snotty towards me, was short in her language when I asked to speak to the superintendent to say, hey, when school starts back up, you all need to talk about the race riots, the officer-involved shootings. You need to deal with the kids' mental health. Whatever it is that has happened while they were in the pandemic, to talk about the gun violence, the reckless driving, all of those things plays a big part in these kids' lives because their social media platform is not the same as ours. Whatever they search, their algorithms pick up all of those different negative things. I sent the email to Dr. Posley. I didn't get any response from anyone. At that particular point, seeing my daughter decline to the point where she starts cutting herself, I could no longer leave my child in MPS because she was not getting the help that she needed with dealing with whoever this young man was at the school. I took her out and I put her at another school. She is thriving. She was involved in a play. She's getting ready to go to France. For 2 weeks straight, she wore an afro. Elaris has never worn an afro at all. You know, she's worn her hair straight or braids, but she's like, it's like finding herself all over again. And I hated the fact that my child had to go to another school in another environment that nurtures kids with the Gay Straight Alliance Club, Black Student Union, even to the point of they can create any type of program that has anything to do with the growth and education of kids and making sure that they have mental health clinicians to talk to these time they wanted to. And if they have siblings that are having mental health issues, they can bring them to the school to be seen. So to me, we need to do something with MPS to get them to understand these kids have mental health issues. I just went to church on Sunday to Greater New Birth, and my first time there for a church service and not a funeral. And I took my child, and she loved it. She's 15 years old. And at the end of the service, one of the things Bishop Burst asked was if there was anybody in here dealing with battling depression, if they felt like they wanted to commit suicide or take their life. Do you know how many young people jumped up? And it was at least 30, 40 kids, young kids, 9 years old, 10 years old, 15, adults, went to the altar for him to pray for them. And I said, you know what? I looked at my daughter, I said, you're not alone. You see, there are people that's going through it and they're asking for help. What about the people that can't get the help that they need or don't know how to get it, or the parent that doesn't know how to remove their child from one situation to the next? I want to be that person to be there for them, to advocate for them on that Milwaukee Public School Board, to say we need to address mental health and the climate that we are in and dealing with the things that's going on with the kids, the disconnect that's going on, the learning that they're not getting. So we need to be all a part of that. We need to get involved and do something because this is getting worse. It's not getting better.
And you know, I want to say this. The reason I was so gung-ho to bring you guys on is because I know as a pastor, I see it. Okay. I see the product that's coming out of MPS. And I've been seeing it for years. I help people get jobs with my organization. And when they come in my office, 18, 19 years old, and don't know what DOB means or SSN means, you know, it bothers me. You know, I had a young lady, she came to me for a job, and in the midst of me just interviewing her to make sure, you know, where she was, young girl, 18, 19 years old, and she started crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? She said, because I just graduated and they didn't prepare me for this. I didn't know what to do. I'm sitting here. I know I need a job. So when it comes to the kids, I'm very passionate when it comes to the kids. And our school board today, I say it all the time, I'm one of the persons, I never bite my tongue. They failed our children. They failed and I say it like this, how can they look in the mirror every morning knowing that they failed our children? When COVID came, that put our children 2 years behind. 2 years behind. And if you would have saw some of the videos of what the teachers was doing, and not only the teachers, but what some of the parents was doing when those kids was at home, it was terrible. And I want to see parents back involved. I want to see teachers' hands untied so they can really teach, instead of trying to do the indoctrination. And so, it bothers me. So when I found out there's 4 people running, I wanted to get you guys on my show. I want you guys to be able to talk to people, let them know. And we want to send a wildfire out of the city of Milwaukee to say, let's put 4 new people on the school board. And then we got some that's on the school board. I heard that is really good and have a really hard for the kids. They're just being hindered by who they working with. So let's take these 4 people and let's put them in a position so our children can be successful, because all we preparing them for is 2 things: death and jail. That's it. And that's sad for them to go through school and not be able to learn so they can survive out here. Here's another comment question for you guys.
Pamela, would you like to take that?
I'll yield to you.
So,
Go right ahead.
So listen, APS creates a budget. And when that budget is created, there's supposed to be participation by all stakeholders. Parents should be in the room, business leaders should be in the room, public servants should be in the room, students should be in the room. Student voice is very important. Teachers, administrators, all of that, to make decisions about where the money is going to be allocated. I'll tell you the area that needs to be improved most importantly is that process. Having all the voices in the room so we have full transparency as it relates to where the dollars are going. Now, we know that special education has not been funded from the federal level. We know that according to a lawsuit, the Voight lawsuit, that there's supposed to be weighted funds for students with disabilities, students who live in poverty, and English language learners. We know that's not happening. Mm-hmm. We also know, though, that within the past 4 years, MPS has received more money than it has ever received. Between the CARES funding, just ridiculous amounts of money. When I have it right here, when I paid my taxes on my property, I'm looking at here, $368.8 million goes to Milwaukee Public Schools. What was done with that? So what I think to answer this question, we need to bring all stakeholders together when we're making decisions so we can clear out the top heavy, so we can have a full understanding of where every dollar is going to. I am not going to propose that I have the answers to everyone. I'm an educator. When you talk about curriculum, when you talk about student achievement, you talk about assessments, you talk about standards, you're talking my language, right? And that's why we have a board of 9 people, so that we have a representative from the business world. We have someone from the police department here, like Pamela, who could talk about safety. And collectively, with all these voices, we make a decision and we stop the top heaviness. So I don't know exactly, and I'm okay saying that I don't know. I don't walk around like I know everything. I don't know where I need to slash, but I know I need people sitting at the table with me to help me figure out where do we slash. And when I'm elected, you will be invited to the table. I will ask questions. I will reach out. What I don't know, I will learn. But I tell you again, when it comes to student achievement, I can hold a candle to anyone. And that is my priority, increasing student achievement for our students at NPS.
And I want to say I am 100% in agreement with you. Everybody need to be at that table. And I don't want to say this in a negative way, but I want to say it in a way that is reality, right? You go to a uh, different county, different school district, you have that. You have parents speaking out. They allow the children to voice what they want and what they don't want in their with the school. And when you come to Milwaukee and you deal with MPS and you deal with everything and you say, okay, parents, we need you to get involved. We don't need parents to get involved and go get in a fist fight. We need parents to get involved and be at that table so they can help plan the future of their children. We need them to take that time to go see what's really going on. Sit at the school board meeting, find out what's going on, ask the question, how come the teacher has to come out her pocket to get some materials that so she can teach her class and she don't have enough money? Because if you do the numbers of how much money in one classroom, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your mind. Let's see. Okay, let's do this. There you go. Two-thirds percent of the school budget. Trying to figure this one out.
I think the caller is referring to Title I funds. So the federal government has identified a pot of money called, I'm sorry, Title I. A pot of money that is allocated to schools, particularly schools who have high levels of poverty. And this is also money that's supposed to be utilized to engage parents and involvement. And I'm going to say this because once again, I am that parent that came into education based on my experience as such. When I was a district administrator at my school, we had a parent coordinator at every school. And the parent coordinator had their own budget out of my school budget to have meaningful parent involvement activities. So parent involvement occurs across the spectrum. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this because it's very, very important. I said already that I am not going to engage in parent blame. When I attended Custer High School, my mother worked at First Wisconsin and my dad was pastor of Church of Living God. They did not have to come to Custer High School. They came for my games and things like that. But what was most important when I was a child was home-based parental involvement. Making sure I went to bed on time, making sure I had dinner, making sure I did my homework, making sure that they knew where I was, making sure that I wasn't in the streets running around 10, 11, 12 o'clock in the morning, at night and into the morning. Home-based parental involvement, that's very important. And then as you move a little bit more to the right, you have parents who get involved in school for like fundraisers, PTO, etc. And then when you go all the way far to the right, you have what a lot of people call soccer moms. Those are the moms, and we see this a lot in suburban schools, where they cannot make one decision unless a parent is sitting at the table. We need parental involvement across the spectrum. A parent should be able to choose how they want to participate in their child's education. It might be that I'm the parent supporting my child at home doing homework or getting a tutor or just sitting there and providing. It might be that I'm the parent that is going to Madison to rally for more funding for special education as I had done in the late 1980s with my own son. Parent voice is very critical. There are many ways for parents to become involved. They can sit on interview teams for teachers and administrators. They can become parent coordinators. They can show up for programs that you're having in school. They can participate in programs. These are all meaningful ways, and what we have to do is create an environment where parents feel welcome. And I really believe that is something that the district, we need to work on and that we're positioned to do. And it's very important because at the end of the day, let me tell you, parents, you have the most power on April 14th.
Yes.
You can decide who has control of your school board. Let's start there. Because if we're expecting someone to open the door and welcome us into a conversation, and we're not participating in the political process, then we're stifling our own voice.
Yes.
So let's start there. Get involved, learn about the candidates, choose a candidate that represents you, who's speaking your language, who represents your family, vote for that person, then hold that person accountable, as well as the other school board members. Political parental involvement is just as important as school-based and home-based parental involvement.
Yes. And, you know, I want to say this because you are absolutely right. If we want change, it starts April 14th. You guys got to get out. And so they are in District 1 and they are in District 2. Pamela is a write-in candidate, you guys. She was already been mistreated. They did her wrong. She didn't even have a chance to speak on her behalf. They knocked her off the ballot, but she is running as a write-in candidate, and we want to support her and make sure that she get the victory also on April 14th. So I'm gonna ask Pamela first. Pamela, just tell the people exactly, because a lot of people don't even know where District 2 is for the school board.
Okay, so you said April 14th, or do you mean April 4th?
April 4th, I'm sorry.
Okay, because I'm like, don't go on April 14th, that'll be over with.
Okay, April 4th, I'm sorry, my bad.
Okay, District number 2, the boundaries from the north end is Silver Spring. The boundaries on the south end is Juneau. So it kind of like from Juneau, maybe up until about Meineke, it'd be like 51st to Tulsa Limits West. And then it goes in, according to the maps that they said, to 60th Street, and 60th Street, it goes up to at Wright Street, it goes up to Silver Spring, and everything west. So those areas, so like if you live near the 76 and Capitol and all those, that's my area to Tulsa Limits West. And then it stops at 104th Street, I want to say, would be my boundaries towards Silver Spring.
Okay, so you got Silver Spring North. What do you have south?
Juneau is the south end.
Juneau's Avenue, Juneau Street?
West Juneau, yes, Juneau Street.
West Juneau.
Yes.
Okay, and then east, you go how far?
To 51st Street, and then I'll cut once it gets up to the 2400 block on 51st Street, then it cuts over to 60th Street.
Okay.
So then takes you straight up 60th all the way to Silver Spring. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you have 51st up to what, 100 and something?
I think 104th Street.
Okay, Silver Spring, Juneau, but then it cuts in and goes to 60th when you get to Meineke.
Yes.
Okay, so you got all of that area. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Dr. Hendricks, where is yours?
Certainly. So I will represent District 1. It begins on Silver Spring Drive and it goes west all the way to Menominee Falls, north all the way to Brown Deer, and east all the way to Glendale and Fox Point. So once you hit Silver Spring Drive, everything north to the suburbs is District 1.
All right. So y'all on Silver Spring, y'all meet, right?
Yes.
Correct.
but then Dr. you go all the way north.
Correct.
So you have the Meadows and North Ridge Lake, right?
Yes.
Okay. I believe it's January 30th. We will be at the library on 77th and Good Hope for the retour.
Yes.
So we would love for you to be there. And when we get in your district, Ms. Holmes, we would love for you. We would love for you to be at the retour too, because that's something that we're trying to do. We're trying to bring people to the middle. We're trying to bring people to come together because that's the only way we're going to fix it. We got to know exactly where you at so we can lead the right people your way to get them out to vote. And we have to make sure that they know who you guys are. We have to make sure that parents are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
And
they have to be.
They have to be.
Yes.
And so I want you guys to talk about safety for a minute because I'm hearing teachers now saying that they don't feel safe.
Okay. Well, I'll start. Again, I am a retired law enforcement officer. I served 26 years in the Milwaukee Police Department, and I
Wait
retired.
a minute. Wait 1 second.
Yes.
Now I remember you. You arrested me. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. I try to remember all people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I served 26 years in the Milwaukee Police Department, and one of the things I noticed coming towards the end of my career, you know, I felt like I trained the officers. I was a sergeant when I retired, and I was still on patrol. That I took care of the officers in the sense that I armed them with enough knowledge of what they're supposed to do, what's right and what's wrong, right? But then when you're going out there and you're going to these community meetings and you're speaking with the youth and the young adults, and then you see the disconnect and it's kind of like the going back and forth between, you know, the officers and my captain at that time was Boris Tucernovich, and he invited me to come and see where the disconnect was, what was he missing. And the fact of the matter is you guys are not communicating. You're sparring and they're sparring. You're trying to throw your weight and say this and dictate to what they're supposed to do, but it's a way to present it, to get people to buy into it. And then the pushback from them is that you're not going to tell me what to do. Well, we have to have a happy medium somewhere. And so it's not us against them. But when I started seeing the young girls, I normally see boys in stolen cars, fleeing from the police, fleeing from us or whatever. And first of all, I don't know why they're running. I was telling someone today, the only time I would see anybody running from the police if you robbed a bank or killed someone. But if you haven't done anything, you shouldn't be fleeing from the police. You can stop, have a conversation with them, unless you were inside of a stolen car. You know you're not supposed to be inside a stolen car. There's no sense in running from it. Just stay there and take your punishment because you were in the car doing wrong and you knew it, but you didn't take yourself out of that situation to help yourself. It doesn't help. The safety aspects in all of that is that we have to be aware. If it's predictable, it's preventable. It's preventable, it's predictable. So if you know that being with someone who's a rebel rouser or steal cars, the likelihood of you being caught up or going to jail is going to happen. So you have to always be thinking safe, even when you're driving down the street, when you're walking down the street, when you leave out of your house. If you're leaving out of your house, you need to go and before you walk out the door, listen. What do you hear? Do you hear anybody rustling around your bushes? Do you hear any cars racing down the street? Do you hear any shots being fired? There are so many things that we have to watch out for just leaving our homes as adults. Can you imagine the kids walking to school? One of the reasons why I said that we need safety and bring the law enforcement officers back into the schools, not as an occupational force, so that they can create positive dialogues with the kids. We have to have our kids be able to have positive interactions with officers. They have to know the officers. The officers don't have to come in like gangbusters, somebody said to me. I mean, they can put on the polo short and black BDU pants, something that makes them look approachable and soft instead of some people are afraid of the uniform. The uniform is it's something that we have to wear. But at the same time, we need to make sure that our students are safe, and that it can be the difference from some kid walking inside the school and the officer standing at the door. Hey, officer, the guy in the red jacket, 3 people behind me just put a gun in his backpack. The officer can just take the kid aside without any show of force or anything. Hey, let me talk to you for a minute, and walk the person over and get them away from everybody else just by that kid saying what he said. So it's incumbent upon everyone to make sure that we have safety inside the schools. If the school safety inside the schools are not handling their business, they need to be retrained as well, because there's no reason why anyone should be able to get inside of a school. Those metal detectors they have at the front door should work. The doors, they should have sensors on them. So when somebody goes out one door, you should be able to know as a safety, school safety, sitting there, that a door is alarmed. Somebody just walked out the door. There's enough cameras around the school to watch all of that. So all of those things need to happen. But when you're seeing young girls inside the car with boys and in these car accidents and things like that, it's like, when did girls start skipping school and hanging out with boys in stolen cars? And they're the ones that's left behind or are trying to take off. It's noticing and seeing all of that. I knew I had to do something. So I retired from the police department. I went back to my alma mater, North Division High School, class of '86. And I got involved with the kids to see where the disconnect was. And they just feel like they were sent. North Division was a prime school back in my day, but they felt like they were sent to that school to fail. And I couldn't make them feel happy or excited about anything. Like, I put on this event called North Division's Got Talent with the kids to see who can sing, to see who can dance. Kids love music, art, and dance. They love sports. So when you give them these here things inside of the schools and you're teaching them at the same time the reading and writing, they give them something to like relax their brain. If it's singing, if it's dancing, if it's home economics, if it's baking a cake or making cornbread, whatever it is, or making a backpack, all of those things that we grew up off of, if these kids are not across the board getting the same type of education, the same type of safety measures that the other schools get, it's like, why does any child want to come to school if I'm sitting in the classroom trembling, worried about the 4th hour? I know it's going to be a fight, because that's what the chatter is that's going around school. Now they're out in the street doing things they have no business in harm's way.
So my approach to school safety is once again grounded in 2 of my priorities. One is a belief-based school culture, where you make students believe that you care about them. You make sure students feel like this is a safe place for me to be. You really care about whether I'm learning. Yeah. You are vested in my success. You're celebrating me. The whole focus is on the students. Yeah. When I was principal at Marshall High School, I was assigned to Marshall, and I remember at the time Andrikopoulos was the superintendent. And when I received my assignment, there had been many occasions where the high school students stopped traffic in Capitol Drive. They would leave Marshall and go to Capitol Drive and misbehave. And so I knew that I had to send a message to my students that that wasn't going to happen, not just because I didn't want it to happen, but because they're better than that. So I started off the school year telling my students, I have the best of the best. I don't care what anyone says. I have the best and the brightest, and you're going to behave as the best and the brightest. We're going to treat you as if you're the best and the brightest. And it took about 3 months before I was able to turn that culture around, where the students knew somebody cared about them and they believed in them. And then we put a lot of resources toward homecoming. We had a parade. We had after-school events. We celebrated students. This is what I mean by really changing the culture of the school, where it is not a place where kids feel like everyone's coming down on them, but where they can really flourish and that they could be celebrated, and then where they can achieve. So I think, once again, my 2 priorities, having a focus on teaching and learning and really focusing on school culture, will really address some of the safety issues that we have. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my years as a special education teacher. I taught students in a self-contained EBD classroom, and I'll tell you what that means. These were students who had emotional behavior disabilities. Many of them were on medications to stabilize their behavior. I had 30 students with emotional behavioral disabilities in the classroom by myself without a paraprofessional. All of them were boys. All of them were taller than me. All of them were bigger than me. And I had one girl. Dr. Rogers Onick was my principal at the time. And he used to always come into my classroom and just sit there. And he was amazed at how attentive my students were, because traditionally it's believed that students with emotional behavioral disabilities are not going to attend, they're not going to learn, they're not going to pay attention. I kept them engaged. And that's because of my classroom culture. Culture and climate and belief go a long way to increase student achievement. And that's the way I'm going to approach safety in the district, by having a belief-based culture, a focus on rigorous teaching and learning so students are not bored, they're not sitting idle, and where our students are celebrated.
Okay, now I have a question, and I think Dr. Hendricks, you would be better to answer this question that this gentleman asked.
Oh, certainly. So curriculum, so we throw out a lot of words when we're talking to education, and I'm just going to define some things. First of all, curriculum is a course of study that leads to proficiency in a certain content area. So that means, curriculum for kindergarten might include learning to write your name, learning your ABCs, learning your numbers, being able to answer simple questions in terms of comprehension, things like that. Curriculum is not books, and I say that for a reason. Our Wisconsin state statute clearly states who's responsible for curriculum in the state of Wisconsin. And it's three entities. One, the state, because the state determines the state's standards that we utilize to provide instruction to our students. The second is the school board, and the third is the parent. Three entities are equally responsible for curriculum. One does not outweigh the other. They should be working in tandem. And that's where we need to return to. And it's in our state statutes. I can actually look it up, but actually, you know what? You can go to my website and on my platform page, scroll all the way down, and I have that state statute and I have the explanation. And so that's who's responsible for determining curriculum. And curriculum is a course of study. It doesn't just include the standards. It doesn't just include the textbooks. It includes the syllabus. It includes the expectations. It includes the assessments. All of that is part of determining what our children should be learning and how we determine whether or not they've met their goals.
Now, I always tell people this: knowledge always governs ignorance. And by you saying that statute, I guarantee you, if we walk to 100 people and ask them about that statute, they'll be like, I never knew. If you go to 100 parents and say, do you know that you have the power to say what in the school and what's out of the school? They would not have a clue. And so I am so glad that you brought that up, that that parents and those that are watching, there's a gentleman that's in your district. After you gave your boundaries, he's in your district. He said you won him over. So I just want you to know you are winning folks over. You guys don't know, but you guys are empowering people right now because of the fact that they really, really a lot of stuff a lot of people don't know, especially in the suburbs. They know. That's why they at the school board meetings. That's why they making noise. That's why they're being called terrorists, because they understand that statute and they understand their rights. So they there. It's us in the city of Milwaukee who don't know that statute and that missing piece. If you ever notice that missing piece of why it's not a balance is that key word, parents. You have the state involved, you have the school board involved, but that last piece is not there, and that's the parents. Because right now, parents is telling they don't have the rights. Parents is being told, we don't have to tell you what's going on. Parents are being told, I don't have to tell you what we're teaching. So parents are being told this, that we don't have to do this, and didn't realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm part of the key component of what you guys do. So I'm so glad that you brought that forward, because we're going to empower people, and we need to do it more. So, but I want a tsunami on April the 4th. I'm going to do my power, to do it. And I want you guys to say this, and let me put this in here so people for you guys to understand, because everybody that's watching my shows, they know me. They've been following me for 2 years and some more. Yes, in 2024, I'm running for mayor, but I'm not doing this because I'm running for mayor. I've been fighting for the longest. I've been fighting when they started off with Race to the Top. I was fighting when they brought Common Core and they took the money and didn't know the curriculum. I've been out here fighting that long, okay? So I always been fighting, and I always been telling people we have to save the next 4 generation. And that 4 generation is coming through the school system. So I've been out here fighting. I'm not doing this because I got an election coming in the next year. I'm doing this for the children, because this is what I believe in, and I always been fighting. And so I'm glad you guys here. I'm going to flood you guys. I'm going to push you guys. I'm going to do everything that I can. You guys are welcome to come back on the show at any given time. You can do my Think About It Tuesday. Now, Think About It Tuesday is not cute. We tell the truth on everything. So we go hard, because I want people to think. And parents, they just gave y'all the key. You guys say what you want. You guys got to get to the table. And my friend Jason Fields always said it this way. He said, either you at the table or you on the menu. And so we got to get off the menu and get to the table. It was wait a minute, I saw one that I wanted you guys to touch. Okay, there y'all go. And ex-officer, I want you to go first.
Let me read this. I understand what you're saying about metal detectors. However, do we hear what we are saying? Parents need to parent instead of being their pals. In my day, my folks put the fear of God in me. Nowadays, it seems anything goes. You all in the bigger city have your hands full, and God bless you all for making a difference, and I wish you all the best. Right. Parents need to really talk to their kids, but I don't know where it went left, where the parent became afraid of their child. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot of times we would respond to calls for service where the parent would call regarding their kids. I think it was the fear of physical abuse to a child or going to jail or something like that. But you have to be able to discipline your child to make sure that they stay in compliance, not beat them or kill them. You understand what I'm saying? But there's a way to discipline your child to make sure that you get your message across. I just wished that more parents would step up with the instruction of their child. And some things when the kids are small, they think is cute. But if you don't correct that action, that behavior, and let it go, that child is going to be out of control. You understand what I'm saying? It's like you see the videos where the kids are, and I'm not discouraging dancing of any kind, but some things are appropriate and some things are not. And when we allow them things to go on, and then now your child is out there in the world with other kids and the behaviors and those different things, is how do you bring them back? How do you try to redirect their behavior and their focus when you let them go so long without instruction?
So I come from the school of Dr. Rogers Army. And Dr. Rogers Onyx taught me as an educator, and I actually implemented this as a school leader and as a district leader. It matters not to me what is happening outside the door of my classroom, my school, my building, or my district. When students walk into an NPS school, that student is our responsibility. Bottom line. I've said, I think maybe about 5 times today that I'm not going to engage in parent blaming. And this is why I'm going to do this. When I ran for state superintendent, I saw parents once again pick up the torch and become their child's first teacher. While they worked, while they struggled with death of family members, illness, loss of jobs, the whole world shut down, they showed up and they showed out to the maximum extent that they could. Our job at NPS is to educate all students. Whether the parent is involved or not, that has nothing to do with it. We need to do our job and stop finding a reason to shift the blame to somewhere else. When I was at Urban Day School, we said it all the time. If a parent never walked in the building, if all year long they just dropped their kid off, if they didn't even walk their child to the bus stop, long as those children got in our door, that was our responsibility, and we became their parent because we're a village. We need to return back to that because there was a time in our community where our grandparents and our great-grandparents had not graduated from high school, but they sent us to HBCUs. We went to colleges during the Reconstruction. We did wonderful things without having to walk into a school, and we can do it again. We need to put the priority where it should be. We need parent input, but we don't have, without it, that should not be an excuse why we don't do what we need to do to produce proficient students who graduate, transition, career, and college ready. I'll go back to the fact that Barbara Hendricks and Bishop Harry L. Hendricks never had to walk in my building during the school day. They only came for, I was a cheerleader. I played the violin. I was involved with human services. They only came for my activities. My teachers took their responsibilities seriously. And I'm not saying that the teachers don't. What I'm saying is we need to uplift our teachers, empower our teachers, support our parents however they want to participate, whether it's home-based to school-based parental involvement, but our responsibility, that's what our parents are paying tax dollars for. They're paying us to do our jobs. Yes. Why should I have to pay tax dollars and I have to teach my child also? It is our responsibility, and we need to do a better job of it. And once again, I'm not blaming teachers. Please understand that. I'm blaming the board. Because if you look at the responsibility of the school board, according to the Wisconsin Associated School Board, one of them is student achievement. So the board is failing. Yes. We need to do better.
You are absolutely right. And let me touch the parent part about being afraid going to jail. All right. Remember when they started teaching the kids, if your parents hit you, call 911. Right? So that's one part. I'll give you a testimony. I walked into Oliver Wendell Holmes School. My grandson had just acted a straight butt in the school. And I'm talking to the principal, and I was talking to the principal, and there was a lady sitting there. And the principal told me everything that my grandson done. I said, I tell you what I'm about to do. I'm old school. So I'm about to take him in his bathroom. When I bring him out the bathroom, he's going to apologize and you will never have to call me again. And the lady opened her mouth and said, you can't do that. I'm the social worker. I looked that lady in the face and said, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the principal. I said, I'm going to take him in his bathroom and I'm going to bring him out. He's going to apologize. And then you'll never have to call me again. The lady jumped in again. If you do this, I'm going to have to make some phone calls. I looked that lady in her face. I said, first of all, I'm a pastor. I have rights, my religious rights. So if you want this fight, you can have this fight. I walked in the bathroom. I did what I had to do. He came out. He apologized to the principal. I said, now you go back to class. He went back to class. I looked at the lady and I said, now make your phone call. And she got up and walked away and never made a phone call. See, one of the things we got to stop letting them tell us is how we discipline our kids. And just like Ms. Holmes said, we don't kill him. I'm not going to kill him, but I'm going to let him know you crossed the line. I'm going to let him know you there to learn. Don't come to me and say my teacher don't like me. She don't have to like you, but she do have to teach you. So you got to be there to be taught. And so when we look at certain things that's happening, we got to get out of that fear of raising our children, because you got 1 minute they making laws that if you whoop them, you go to jail. And then the next minute they on the news saying, get your kids. Now, we can't do them both. You know, you're going to either allow us to be parents and parents got to grow up too. Parents got to have, I like to call it a 3 covenant. All right. A 3-part covenant. One part, the teacher commits to teaching the student. 2, the parent commit to supporting the teacher teaching the student. And 3, the student commit on learning. You got 3 people involved in that education. And I know the parents can't always be there, because my mom them didn't have to come to the school unless I did something stupid, they had to reinstate me. But they didn't have to come to that school. We knew that our parents and the teacher was a team. And if we act up, those most of the time when I was coming up, I didn't want to say my age, but when I was coming up, the teacher took care of the problem right there and there at the school. And you didn't go home and say you got a whooping at school, because you know you would have got another whooping at home. But when they did have to come to the school, you know, you had that interaction. You had that a lot of them, my parents and teachers was on first name base. That's how close they was, and making sure that I got the proper education. So yes, the teachers got to do their job, but like you said, you got to untie the teacher's hand. And the school board failed. I said 100 times, they failed our children. They failed to inform parents on things, and then they're not even reachable. So all of that at once, they just sitting there getting paid to do nothing, because that's what's really going on. And so I'm gonna put up a couple of these, because we don't win an hour, almost an hour and a half. I told y'all just how it goes, but I'm gonna just put up a couple of comments. Somebody made this one and I thought it was funny, so I'm gonna put it up anyway. This is from a pastor. And then this is and then hold on, this one. So what? Okay, wait a minute. Let's see. Okay, this one, and then I'm gonna put this one on after that one. I'm gonna put this on because I promise you guys an hour. We're almost at an hour and a half. I don't want to take all your time, but what I will do is I'm gonna give you guys time to give final things, and I guarantee you they want y'all to come back. So y'all gonna have to come back. They want y'all back. And so let me put this last one there. And then this one. And then this one. Now, the only person that might know about this one is Dr. Hendricks.
You know, I'm for the great Google what the pine cone is.
I'll tell you what the pine cone is, but Dr. Hendricks, do you know what the pine cone is? And you traveled this whole state running for DPI and you don't know what the pine cone is.
Is that the dunce hat?
No, the pine the pine cone is a restaurant in Jefferson County in Johnson Creek. It's connected to a gas station, and they have the most tremendous desserts, cookies, brownies, pies, what you call them, caramel apples, you name it, they got it at the pine.
So when I was out there doing my notary business, I'm a mobile notary, so I refinance people's, I show up at their homes and refinance people's properties for them. And I actually stopped there and I bought like all of this pastry. You know what I mean? I was like, I didn't know what the name of the place was. I just knew it was connected to the gas station. And I was like, I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna get this." And then I said, you know, cops love donuts. You know, I'm one of those people. My midsection to say that. But you know, the pastry, yeah, it was. I can agree on that. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. And I want to address the comment regarding about the parents, the kids know the law. I just want to say parents should not be afraid to parent, because any reasonable law enforcement officer that will show up at your home during a time when the child has called the police, or at this particular point in time in the way the world is, we listen. We listen to what the parent has to say and what the child has to say. And you can pretty much tell who's fibbing, who's not telling the truth or whatever. And just because if they have to write it up, a call for a sergeant because they can't make a determination and they want to order you in, just go into to see the DA and explain your side what's going on with your child, and ask them, are there any programs? Can they help you with something that, you know, that's going on with your child? They should be able to at least give you that, get you involved with something. There's so many different programs out there, so many people that's running different programs, but they're not accessible in the sense of we're not relying on them. You understand what I'm saying? You have Generations Against Bullying, you have Peace for Change Alliance, you got ComForce, you got all these different groups of people, 414 for Life, and that are available. But the school needs to resource a list to provide to the parents. Hey, if you're going through this, these are the people that you can reach out to. These are the ones that we are connecting with. And NPS needs to do a better job in doing that as well.
Okay. Doc, I'm gonna let you have this one.
NPS curriculum needs to be changed. It is very elementary. Our children need more advanced education. Well, we're the ones we've been waiting on. That's all I'm going to say. Change is not going to come by people who have been operating comfortably.
Yes.
You know, when I read a book one time that says that the system is set up the way it's set up for a reason. Someone's making money off of illiteracy. Somebody's making money off of poverty. Someone's making money off of homelessness. Someone's making money off of unemployment. Someone's making money off of every social ill that we discuss. So if we know this and we know things need to change, it behooves us to become the people who make the change. We are the ones that we have been waiting for. We have to stand up. We have to say this is enough. We have to go to the polls. We have to hold elected officials. And I'm not just talking about school board members. We have to hold those who have titles responsible and say that it's not good enough just for you to post on Facebook that you visited a school or that you got this award or that you were honored in this way. Your work should speak volumes about yourself. Yes. I just told you that I increased student achievement from 30% to 70% in 3 years. That's measurable. There's data on it. There's a record on it. You can check it. When you're listening to school board members, what is their record? What's the data? What is the evidence of their work other than being seen in public or being liked? It's wonderful to be liked and loved, but you know what? If my students, my children in this city results in you hating me because I'm fighting for them, then hate me. I want things to be better for our children, and I know you do too. And so I'm going to ask that you hold me accountable. The election process as a candidate, I have a responsibility not just to, through these debates, to go through the interview process. You're interviewing me right now with your questions. I have the responsibility of proving myself to be the candidate that you want me to be. But I also have the responsibility to educate you as it relates to where we really are and what's going wrong. And that's why my website is so intense. Go there and read, and then go ask the other candidate that's running against me, by the way, what are you doing about this? What have you done in this 4 years about this? What are you going to be doing going forward? Where's your 20-point education policy? What are your priorities and what does it look like? We are the ones that we have been waiting on, and we need to hold myself and everyone else accountable.
Now, I want to say this, you guys, because I done kept them, and I know it's steady coming in, but I wanna put this up because she want to clarify the joke. So there you go, ladies.
And thank you. I did not take any offense to it. I just, I just laughed it off. But thank you. I appreciate that. And we are here trying to make a change and make the difference that we need, that our children need, that our families need, because the school system, Milwaukee public school system, has failed our children.
Yes.
And when you see them out there, when these kids are graduating and they can't find jobs and they are off and on their way to college and they cannot function in college because we did not prepare them enough, that's our fault. We have to change that. And that's what we're trying to do now, to get the four of us on the board: SHANDOWLYON Hendricks, myself, Pamela Holmes, Daryl Jackson, and Jeff Spence. We have to try to get on that school board to make a change, to get things done for our kids, for our youth. We want all of our children to succeed, not just mine, but all of our children.
And I'm gonna try to get all four of them on at the same time. Pastor Walker, you live in Pamela Holmes' district. So I'm gonna need you to help work on her campaign and push people her way, because she's a write-in candidate. Somebody, I want to touch this because she's asking to be enlightened.
Absolutely. So I'm going to answer this. There was a time that Milwaukee Public Schools student achievement was very high. There was a time that, as an educator, when I went to national conferences and I told people that I was from Milwaukee, they marveled at what we were doing. They talked about the continuous improvement model that we had, where we looked at where students were and we developed individualized plans to move them along in their education. There was a time where our students were competitive with other states. Yes. And that happened from change within MPS's Board of Education. On the other hand, now we find ourselves in a dismal type of situation, and that is a direct reflection of the change within the Board of Education. The only way we're going to return back to the time with myself and Pamela, and I mean, if you just look at some our elected officials that are MPS graduates, you look at our leaders, our business owners who are MPS, we look at our principals, you look at our superintendent, you look at our central office administrators, our teachers, you look at people who leave Milwaukee and Wisconsin and they move to Atlanta and they move to Texas, and they're very successful in the things that they do. We have singers who came from Milwaukee. There was a time that the Board of Education of MPS produced the best and the brightest, and we can get back there. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're trying to do. And it's by making, the question is, making educational policy to put student and learning and teaching first, by elevating the teacher career, the teacher workforce, so our teachers feel appreciated, by building a culture and climate where the buildings are open after 3 o'clock. There was a time when I went to school, I didn't leave Custer High School till 10 o'clock at night because there were activities, recreation in every school, basketball teams, football teams, boys and girls clubs. The schools were our community pilots within the community where a lot was done. So of course that can happen within our district, and we have to be the one to return us back to that place.
Yes, I remember at Victor Burger, we used to have a social center. So we would go to school and go to the social center and have a good time. And you know, so we need those outlets for these children, especially the children that's pushed all the way out in Brown Deer in your district. There's no place out there for them. There's no outlet in the Meadows area and what else? Northridge Lake. You know, there's nothing for the children. We have to be able to open up those schools and allow them in there for after school program. And even if we have to do an after school program that give them a meal, because some of them won't get a good meal, you know. So, and if they know that you care, if they know you care, then they'll do anything. Even when I fuss at them, they'll do anything. Okay.
To answer Mr. Lasky's question, you can, even though you live north of us, and to help us, what it takes is a donation, and you can donate to our campaign, because then that way we can get out to people to pass out our literature, to go with us and canvas and do the door to door, allow us that opportunity to make things happen. And so that people are aware of who we are, you know, any chance or opportunity that we get to speak to you all, to give you our platform, what we're about, what we're passionate about, and what we want to try to do. Is not, I mean, I'm retired. I could stay retired, and Laris is my last child. And I can just let her go off to school where she's doing it. She's a bright individual. And like I said, she's on her way to France in March. And with her school, I can just say, forget it. But I'm not, because I'm just thinking about everybody else's kid, another parent who want to get their child help, and the kids that are there. We did this program called Youth Victory Over Violence at Milwaukee Excellence Charter last year, and with Tracy Dent, Peace for Change Alliance. And I want to tell you, speaking to those kids, a lot of those kids did not know that they were breaking the law. They thought they could be 14 years old to give consent to have sex. They thought that they could make videotapes. And we're telling them that's child pornography. The whoever's videotaping can get in trouble, as well as they can get in trouble and become registered sexual offenders. And to the point that it was one of the boys that was trying to extort the girls, like, if you don't do what I say do, I'm going to post your video online. Now, you know, it's like that's the start of human trafficking. There's so many things that's wrong that we need to correct. We need to put sex education back in school, not to just tell the kids how to have sex. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. It is how we deliver the message to them and let them know that these things are wrong. The law says you cannot give consent to have sex until you're 16 years of age. And a lot of these kids like, why no one ever told me this? Why no one ever said anything to me like that? And when you have the breakdown where kids are wanting to take their lives because of embarrassment or different things, the bullying and jumping out of the window and things like that, that's disturbing. It should be disturbing to each and every one of us that we want to have to do something about this change. And how can we make that change? How can we get you all involved with us?
Wow. Okay. You know, this has been great. And we definitely going to have you guys back. I've been flipping back and forth to each one of theirs website where you can donate. If you want to volunteer, you know, let them know that you want to volunteer. Who was that? Chanel, I just want you to know that you are in, let me see who district. You're in Dr. Hendricks district. Chanel. So yeah, you got some work to do too, young lady. So hey, Mr. Madison, this gentleman right here, if you are in the Kenosha area, if you live in Kenosha, this gentleman right here, Lamar Madison, is running for school board in Kenosha. So we're going to have him on the show as well. He's running for school board in Kenosha. It's time to change the guards. And I'll tell y'all why. And I used to say it all the time, and I still say it, but I started saying this. When you send your kids to Caesar, stop getting mad when they come home a Roman. If you send your kids to Caesar, stop getting mad when they come home a Roman. I want y'all to ponder that and think about that for a minute, because of the fact that if you guys are not involved, if you guys are not, here's how you get involved. You get involved by working with these four and oh, I'm gonna mention your campaign, sir. You one of me. You my guy. But you guys, we gotta get stirred up now, and we gotta get them over the threshold on April the 4th. We gotta get all four. So if you get 4 on there, now watch this, you guys. We help these 4 get on. There are some good people that's on there they're not up for re-election yet, but they got some good people on there that if we get these 4 on there, then you guys will have the majority to do some great things for the school. So this is why it's important that we get all 4 of them on there, and then the majority is back in the hands of, how should I say this? We the people, we the parents, we the ones who love the children. This is why it's so important, you guys. You got an opportunity, Milwaukee County, you have an opportunity to start to fix things by putting all 4 of these candidates into the school board, and you'll be able to flip the school board. And when you flip the school board, then we can see some change. If you just complaining and not voting, then be quiet. Shut up. Don't complain. I just got to tell it like it is. But we have an opportunity from January to April to do a tsunami and put all 4 of these people in office, and so we can have the majority. So I'm looking forward to it. Stacy, ain't nobody took it like you was racist. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Ain't nobody thinking you're racist. We didn't pay that no attention. You know how we do things, so don't even worry about it. So forgive yourself, we good. The most important is you bring back normalcy. He wants us to go back to normal, being normal. Okay, we won't use the word change. We use the word normalcy. We go back. But you guys, this is it. So here's what I'm gonna do. Just the way I open it, it's the same way I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna put their face up. They have as much time as they want to give their final thought to you guys. And then we're gonna close out the show. Tune in on Saturday. This Saturday, we have our constitutional teaching with Martha and Mary. I call them Martha and Mary of the Constitution. So they're going to be with me on Saturday. We're going to continue our Constitution. Okay, here's what we're going to, all the information so I can schedule time to get them on our radio broadcast. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. When I put them up, ladies, please tell them your website again, because I don't know if they can read the small writing. Give them your website or your phone number, because one person wants to get you on a radio show. And his radio show is on Joy 1340. Okay? So he wants y'all on his show. And so when I put you up, you can put your phone number or you can give your website so he can reach you guys. All right? Y'all ready? All right, let's do this.
All right, my name is Pamela Holmes again. The easiest way to reach me is 414-758-3327. And my email is Pamela Holmes for mps@gmail.com. But you can text me or you can call me and I can get you more information that you would need.
Say your number again.
758-3327. And we look forward to seeing you out there. While we're out there campaigning for our kids, we have to make a change. We have to make a difference. We are the people that you seek to bring change to this MPS school board. And it's going to happen. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for joining us. Again, Dr. King, just so grateful for this opportunity. My name is Dr. Shandowlyon Hendricks Reeves. I am a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a community member. And I am thoroughly disturbed as it relates to our student achievement. I am retired, and like Pamela, I could just sit at my house, but I can't. I have a calling on my life, and my calling is to change and improve educational outcomes for our students in Milwaukee Public Schools. Please join me in this quest. Join me on this journey. My website is www.friendsofshandowlyon, SHANDOWLYON.com. My telephone number is 414-502-8331. If you go to my website, you will see my complete platform along with answers to questions that I receive from different entities, what they call candidate questionnaires, that will provide you my exact words so that no one can change the narrative. I'm controlling the narrative of this campaign. This is about the kids. There's nothing in it for me. This is about the children. It's about the parents that rely on MPS to educate our children. It's about the teachers who toil and work every single day. It's about the administrators that are trying to support our teachers. It's about our taxpayers that are given millions of dollars. It's about our businesses that need employees that have the skills. It's about our country that needs leadership. And it might come right from MPS. So please join me. Please visit my website. There's a contact me page where you can join and you can either, give money, you can donate, you can make phone calls, you can help me with canvassing, you can tell other people about me. I have a Facebook link on there, a Twitter link, and an Instagram link. But just know this, to whom much is given, much is required. And because you're sitting here tonight, that lets me know you've been blessed with a lot. You have internet, you have access to some sort of device. And so there's something required of you. Get involved, make a lot of noise, elevate this campaign, fight for us when they try to change our narrative, and fight for our children. Thank you and good night.
Now, let me say it this way. Anytime strong, good candidates come to fight for your children or any office, we already know they're going to start throwing negative ads, negative things about each and every candidate. Don't listen to the lies. Look at the reality. The reality is MPS school board failed our children. The reality is MPS school board did not do things in the how should I say this? In the best interest of our children. MPS school board sat back and just relaxed. They didn't care about your kids. So it is time to put people in office that care about your children, that want to see your children succeed, that want to see your children compete with any child in this country and across the world. And so I know you're talking about me, J-Rob. I want you guys to make sure that we stand up now, because if you don't stand up now, you won't be able to stand up later. You give these folks 4 more years to fail our children. I don't even want to imagine what will happen in the next 4 years. We have an opportunity to take the majority. We have an opportunity to put the right people in the office that can turn the ship around. So tell everybody, share this video again. I want to thank YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Rumble. I want to thank you guys because that's where we are. Stacy, you owe me cookies. I want cookies from Pinecone because you would not let that go. So since you won't let it go, you got to deliver cookies. I mean, deliver them, not FedEx. I want you to bring them. Cookies, I want them. And so we thank you guys for being with us. We thank you guys. It was a short notice. I ran into by phone Miss Holmes. We have the same friend, and he told me about her. I was like, get her on the phone, and he got her on the phone. She went and got Dr. Reese, and I'm like, y'all want to do it? We can do it right now, because y'all know me. I'll start a show at the blink of an eye. I can do it. And so I'm grateful that they are on with us. We want you guys to know one thing, and that is this. If you want change, if you want normalcy, then you guys got to do what you need to do. And you got to stand up when you got, so when are y'all coming back? Wow, he putting y'all on Front Street already. When do y'all want to come back?
As soon as you invite us back.
Next week?
That's fine.
That'll be fine with me.
Okay, so after the show, ladies, I'm going to have you backstage. Don't hang up yet. We'll schedule it. And then if we can, we get the other two on with them. And also, I would like to get Mr. Madison, who's running for the school board in Kenosha. I'm going to do a show with him as well. But I'm not going to put him with the MPS school. But I don't want to confuse people. But I do want to do a show with him because y'all know, for me, it's all about empowerment. And if you don't have the information, you can't be empowered. So we want to make sure everybody gets what they need to be successful. And right now, it's our kids. They're crying out. They won't help. They want to be better. And we got to be the ones to give them what they need. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And we want to say good night to you guys. And we will talk to y'all soon. And y'all know this is Dr. David D. King. We love y'all. Peace.
Yeah, yeah.